Hi, gorgeous gals. I'm
Hello.
so happy to be live here tonight with you. Welcome to the PattyLynn Show. I am PattyLynn, and I'm a connection director at Gals. And this is Mariah Young, and she is our CEO.
Hello.
And we just love coming on here together and talking about the topics.
Yay.
And I cannot believe I have not had a show on tonight's topic.
You haven't?
It's so important in relationships. I've probably touched on it, but not like a whole show. So this
Okay.
month's focus in Gals is forgiveness. And we're going to dig into that topic in just a bit. And then we're going to have some party tips with PattyLynn.
Yay.
And then at the end, I'll kind of sum up some of my top tips there for to remember when forgiving.
Love it.
But first, a little connection time.
Woohoo.
So one of my favorite May topics that I have talked a bunch about is the mayhem of May. And May can just be such a busy time. And last year was particularly busy for me. And I think I always have the busyness of end of school year and all the parties and graduation and getting the grad cards out and addressed. And then people get, as college kids are maybe graduating from there's engagements and there's often weddings. And last year we had 4 weddings in the summer. So it was this year, I don't know anyone getting married this year. I mean, some friends of friends, I guess, but like in my inner circle where I'm going to show up early and help, I don't have any of those, right?
Yay.
So I think it feels less busy than last year, but still always a busy time.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm just checking in. Like, is your May busy? Are you feeling busy?
Yeah, I am. It seems like graduation, college graduation, and then travel, etc. Just kind of getting ready for summer.
Yeah. Well, and unfortunately for me, I'm sometimes hit with hay fever. So the grasses start blooming and I get sniffly and all those allergy things. So that zaps your energy right at the time when you need to finish strong, especially as a teacher. May month. And I was really feeling a couple of weeks ago, and I just sat down and said, okay, what do we really need to do? And knocked some things out that they're just done. So they're not hanging over me anymore. And I had one of the parents said, I can come help for an hour. I'm like, yes. I always say yes. Can I help? Yes. I don't know what you can do, but yes, come in. I'm going to find something. Nice. Whatever I would be doing, you can do it.
I love it. Smart.
But if you are feeling, go ahead and comment, like, how's your May going? And if you are feeling super stressed, just know it will pass, whether you get everything done well or not well or not done at all. It's going to be over. So prioritize what you must do. And then in Gals, of course, we love our June topic of the purposeful pause. And so we always look forward to that because after we've made it through May, we need a little breather.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah. So good.
So, go ahead.
Oh, I will go ahead and say, since you mentioned it, guys, ladies, make sure that you put your comments below. We don't know who is on, so we rely on you to make sure you say hello, tell us what you're thinking, and of course, answer any questions or ask any questions that you have.
Yes, and if we do miss it, then we'll go back and I'll answer those questions. But it's kind of fun too. That's the thing we love about doing it live. You're right here with us and we can see your comments. So when you comment, say like, hi, this is, and say your name, because then we'll know.
Yes.
Otherwise, like the other day, I was like, hey, I'm here. Who's me?
Yes, it's true. It just says user a lot of times. I'm like, I can usually tell a couple of people by their comments, like Coco and Dawn, but I don't know all the time. Awesome. Okay. Want to make sure we got that.
Okay, well, I have an interesting connection card.
Ooh.
So our question here is, do you fit your stereotype? So specifically, it's like, do you fit the stereotype of blonde or brunette or redhead? So it's kind of hard because I was thinking, well, I suppose a blonde stereotype is the ditzy blonde. And I suppose, I don't know a brunette stereotype.
I don't either, actually.
And then the redhead is, I always thought, passionate, quick to anger, to have a redheaded temper. So I would say I am very emotive. I'm not quick to anger, but I'm very, like if I'm feeling an emotion, then I'm probably expressing it, unless it's a situation where I have to hold it back. But usually, you'll know how I'm feeling by how I'm acting. No surprises.
Yeah, I think the redhead is definitely a stereotype, like Anna Green Gables, that kind of a scenario.
Impulsive.
I'm no longer I'm gray. So is there one for that?
Well,
I'm not old.
I think gray has really changed, because it used to be women would cover their gray. And if you had gray hair, you were maybe a doddering old lady, right? But that is no longer the case. So many vibrant young women are just embracing the gray as it comes. Yeah. So I think you're beating that stereotype.
Yeah, maybe it's the I don't care anymore or what you think about me stereotype.
Maybe.
Yeah. Good question.
I earned this hair and I'm going with it. Yeah.
That's right. That's exactly how I feel.
Funny. Yeah. And I'm thinking, we do have so many stereotypes that.
Yeah. That's a whole nother topic, right? Stereotypes.
It really is. It really is. Because then we're thinking there's nationality stereotypes. So, if you're a Latina, are you a passionate Latina? What is that stereotype? I mean, and then, I don't know. I tread lightly because it's.
I think us white ladies, we tend to get the stereotype of Karens, white women.
Yeah.
I don't know the others, so I can't speak to them, but I could say, I think that's our stereotype.
I was driving down the road and someone has a big motor home on the side of the road on their property. And they had a big sign in the window. It says, "Dear Karen or Ken." So the Ken is the male Karen. Right. Karen or Ken. And it was this long letter. And I'm thinking, yeah, but who wrote that? I didn't read it, but I really wanted to go back and take a picture of it so I could read it later when I was trying to get somewhere. I'm thinking, I think you kind of make yourself a Karen when you write a Dear Karen letter.
I think you might be right.
I wonder if it's still there. I should go see if that sign's still there. I'm very curious about it now.
No kidding. Yeah, I kind of want to see that. I'm very curious. Interesting.
Well, funny. Well, let's jump right into our topic of forgiveness. And in defining forgiveness, I was thinking, what is the opposite of forgiveness? So, you might say, well, obviously, unforgiveness. But that word doesn't come up as a word. So it's marked on my spell check as not a word, unforgiveness. Is that weird? I'm like, is it non-forgiveness? Is it? So I looked up what's the antonym, and I can't remember what they said. I have my antonym. The opposite of forgiveness is if you're not forgiving, you're having a grudge or bitterness. Also, it could be anger or resentment or even hatred.
Oh, ouch.
Yeah. So really a hardened heart. And I think that it's because unforgiveness hurts you. And there's that famous saying, to withhold forgiveness is like taking poison and expecting the unforgiven person to die. So pretty grim, but the unforgiveness only hurts you. And it hurts you in so many ways. So unforgiveness hurts your health. So you could have stress and headaches and neck aches and back aches. If you're holding it here, hold it inside. You could get ulcers or hypertension or depression, misery, dejection, unhappiness, maybe even guilt, with your resentment. Can weaken your immune system. You can say, I feel like I'm falling into pieces. So some kind of disintegration of self, right? Lack of sleep with your inner stress. You're tired and worn out. It starts showing on your face. So it definitely hurts you. It hurts your other relationships if you're consumed by this unforgiveness. And it can hurt your relationship with God. It can hurt your relationship with, that person definitely, but even other relationships. And it can really bind you. So you're bound to that topic and just steals any joy and keeps your peace away.
That's really interesting. I do have to share in light of PattyLynn. I don't know if you saw the post that Amanda posted in Gals about, does forgiveness come easy to you? And we did have several answers in that. Did you see that?
I looked early on and I didn't go back and see who else commented.
Yeah. So in light of what you're saying, I think it's really interesting because, I actually commented, it's easier for me to forgive others than it is to forgive myself sometimes.
Right.
It's a working practice to do that. So interesting, the side effects that you found based on non-forgiveness and thinking of that in forgiving myself even.
Yes. And we're going to talk about that because that is one of the hardest, you can forgive others, but it is hard to forgive yourself. So, and when I think of forgiveness, of someone who was raised in the church and a follower of Christ, I always think that verse, forgive as Christ has forgiven you. And also the golden rule, treat others the way you want to be treated. And I just think, well, I want to be forgiven. And so there is this universal understanding and need for forgiveness, and that we all have to deal with this. So
yeah, I think growing up in the church, you and I have a little bit of a different perspective on that, and I think, which I know you're going to talk about too. There's a misunderstanding, I think, generally, of what forgiveness actually is. And like you said, it's really more about you than it is about the person that you're forgiving. So I'm excited to dive into this topic, especially as we have a few other comments of just, some difficulties in forgiving others, or at least a particular situation. I see a couple of comments, and I think where you and I come from, we can see that it damages us more, and that's what we want people to understand, I think, too.
Yeah. And I had a thought. I was listening to you. I forgot my thought.
Oh, sorry. I'm going to pull this closer because we're having a very deep conversation here.
Oh, I like this. Zoom in.
Yeah.
So yes, so I'm going to come around to that, what you just said, because it parallels some things that we're going to talk about. But I did want to talk right now about forgiving yourself. And you said that maybe there's not an understanding of forgiveness, but so as we talk about it, just kind of the understanding, the release, so that when you're harboring a resentment, you're bound. And what we want for you is to be released of that. And so in order to do that, you need to let go, or we would say forgive, and then move on. And that sets you free. So, but let's talk a little bit about it's yourself. And it is harder. I have some examples that are, maybe a little trite, to kind of use in this talk, but I know that some go deeper. And the ones that we're hurt the most by and are the hardest to forgive are those people who are the closest to us, or the ones we've trusted the most, or the ones we even love the most. But then when we're hurt, it's hard to forgive.
Mhm.
So, but let's talk about ourselves. Now, I do have a hard time forgiving myself. So I don't know why. I don't know why, because I know I'm human.
Yeah.
I know my sins and my failures. I know my lame ass excuse that, oh, and I don't buy it, right? So I try to excuse myself. I don't buy it, right? I know that I am far from perfect and I make
Mhm.
mistakes all the time. So then why do I have this idea that I should be a certain way, should be perfect, or should have made all the right mistakes or not mistakes, decisions, so I don't make a mistake, but I do. If I make a mistake, I obsess on it. I run it over and over in my mind. I could have done that, or I should have done that, and blame myself for being such an idiot. It's just so stupid, and even inadvertent mistakes. Like one time I was going to a friend's house for a nice luncheon and I just forgot to go.
Mm.
So, I know that time and dates are hard for me, or I'm late to things. I come late to something and sometimes you miss something because you're late, but
Mhm.
okay. But how you got to forgive yourself and move on because you can't change the past. And it can lead to like poor self-esteem, like I was just saying, I feel so stupid. How can I not remember? All those things.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think it's good to think about, like, when I think about forgiving myself, I remind myself that I would not hold anyone else to the standard that I hold myself to.
Yes. Yes. And I have that. That's one of my tips here. So to, treat yourself like you would your friend.
Yeah.
So all of my tips start with the letter A. Why? Because I love alliteration.
I love it.
If you've been a fan of the PattyLynn Show,
Yep.
everything is alliterated.
I love it.
So
right.
the first step for A, assess the situation. So you're feeling, assess the situation when you're in a strong, positive mood. So you have this grudge or resentment against yourself. So make sure you're in a good mood to deal with it. So don't pick your worst day to say, I'm going to deal with this now, So, and then allow time to process. Okay. So, and then you need to acknowledge the mistake. So just face it head on. Now think about it. Think about the guilt you feel. You can grieve the losses, but don't dwell on the shame and regret. So do feel, we don't want to not feel things. You have to do that to cleanse and forgive yourself. You got to feel what you're regretting, but don't shame or shame or regret. Just you can feel like you just feel guilty about that. And then accept responsibility. So this is big. Own your own mistakes. And often when you can kind of get in the habit of owning your mistakes and accepting responsibility, it actually is empowering because you're like, I did that and I was wrong, and then the next one is apologize. So a sincere apology and make amends. So sometimes I'm going to replace that. I'm going to start paying back at so much a month, or I'm going to help repair if it's a physical item that can be repaired or, replaced. So it's something like that for someone else or yourself, but that you would know within yourself, okay, I've done everything I can do. And then this is the best, talk to you like you would your best friend, is to advise yourself. What advice would you give to your best friend? What would you say to her? You're worthy and you made a mistake and we all do. And you can encourage and support someone else, encourage and support yourself, be that to yourself. And actually, sometimes we do need to go to a friend and say, I'm going to need some advice and get that from the other person into your ears. But you can encourage yourself with that too.
Yeah.
And then the next A is adopt a new perspective. So, our kindergarten teacher teaches the kids, mistakes are good. They help us grow. They teach us what we need to know.
Ooh.
And they are good and they are sometimes hard, but this is a learning experience and it made you stronger. And it takes a strong person to forgive yourself and to forgive others. And this has made you a stronger person. So experience is the best teacher and you just had a dose of it, right? So,
Right.
so learn And then be grateful for those new insights.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
then the next A is allow yourself to let go of the guilt. So that guilt and shame, just let go of it. Be at peace with it. And so this is closure. This is living in the present and not dwelling on the past.
Hmm. Yeah.
So
Yeah. Forgiveness is a tough topic too, because, you know, a lot of us have had things that have happened to us that are pretty, I mean, let's be honest, there's some pretty terrible things that have happened. I've had a lot of bad things happen in my life. And when I recognized what forgiveness is and what it isn't, it really helped me to gain freedom from some of the things that were holding me back because of that unforgiveness.
yeah.
So I love that.
Yeah. Yeah. And then give yourself grace, love yourself, accept the forgiveness, because often maybe someone else has already forgiven you, but you can't forgive yourself. So, you've been forgiven by God, by others, and then forgive yourself, And then the last one's acknowledge if you need more help. And that's when you might need to go to your friend or go to a therapist and get some help.
Yeah.
But it's really, forgiveness is not for the other person. It's for you. And I've had someone say, like, if you ask for forgiveness, I'm not ready to forgive you yet. Right?
Mm.
And I'm like, okay, so just let me know now. Do I come back and apologize again, or will you come to me? Because I don't know the rules now. I
Right.
apologized, and you don't want to forgive me. So but really, you can move on from there. Once you've apologized, then you can be forgiven by God and self and move on.
Yeah.
You don't need that other person to do it. That's where they go in a place where they're holding this unforgiveness that is going to hurt them. But you can be released from it. And sometimes people do that as a way to hurt you. I'm not going to forgive you. Well, I forgive myself. So that's only going to hurt you. Right.
Well, you can't do anything about other people's feelings, right? It's theirs. So you own yours, they own theirs. Yeah.
The other big saying that doesn't ring true is forgive and forget. We got these beautiful big brains and they don't forget, especially hard situations. Now, I have prayed, Lord, help me to forget this, because I have forgiven it and I don't want it to rule my, whether it's against me or someone else, that I don't want it to be ruling my life because I can't let go of it. But again, if we're seeing it as a learning perspective, and but some are just wrongs. Some are just evil wrongs that have happened or hurts, and those you don't have to forget. I wouldn't want them to always be on the tip of your brain. You want to live with a clear, so some kind of forgiveness can wash clean that experience or hurt. But you can and will remember. So, and someone should not demand that, well, if you really forgave me, then you would forget it. Like, you know what? I'm an intellectual person with a big brain. I can't forget. It was hurtful. And hopefully in time, by lots and lots of positive actions from you, I can see you as a good person again, or whatever the situation is.
Right. Well, and there's so much into that conversation.
I know.
And I think there's, to what you're saying, depending on what you believe or where you're at or there's so many ways that you can help yourself too, to have a physical or visual way to try and let go. I've done things like paint it, write it on a canvas and then paint over it, or
write it on a piece of paper and burn it in the fire.
Yeah, exactly.
I've done that one. Yeah.
I think somebody had said one time to write it on a rock and throw the rock off a cliff or into an ocean, or, and then so when it comes back, then you can remember, wait a minute, no, I got rid of that.
Yeah. I've done that with my kids, and we didn't write it on it, but we just represented a rock, just like, we're just going to let go of this. Just throw it in the river.
Yes.
So, yeah. So, and you don't always, I like all those ways. It's a visual reminder, helps us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Love it.
And you don't always need an apology to move on.
Right.
So, so I have a silly illustration.
Love it.
It's a real life story. We were in the airport and my husband and I got separated. And when we came back together, he had a coffee for himself. Okay. So I was like, where's mine? I mean, just like, are you kidding? We both got up early for the same flight. Anyway, so here's your options. Forgive in love. Okay. Let love cover it. Love covers a multitude of sins. Oh, okay. And then, go get your own coffee. Another option is just talk to him sweetly about it. Hey, maybe a nice joke like, hey, where's my coffee? Or thank you. Is that for me? Or did they only sell you one? Or, kind of not a, I like jokes that are pure, funny jokes, not sarcasm. I don't really do sarcasm, but maybe just a nice reminder. Hey, I like coffee too. Next time you can get me one, or you can have the big confrontational conversation, maybe including shaming. And then there's lots of other options. There's holding a grudge. There's making it like he never gets me coffee. There's complaining to your friends about it or doing it on your internet show.
You see a lot of that these days.
So do you want to know which one I did?
Which one?
Well, I tried to have the sweet conversation, but it kind of turned into a big conversation. Probably because I needed a coffee. So then I was sorry that I made it such a big deal over a cup of coffee that I got my baggage. I can now go get a coffee. Anyway, it's a silly illustration,
Mm-hmm.
But in all these situations, you have the option of, I can just overlook this. I know the person, they love me. They didn't intend bad for me. I'm happy that they have a coffee. Now let's give me one. And then, then there's talk about it. So if someone offends you, go talk to them. And then there's, big talk, which might be bring a friend in, bring a therapist, have a mediator. We need to have a bigger conversation together, and then being able to work it out. And I know that there are a lot more heavier conversations than there's this. I think the principles will ring true, but the real life application is way more than a cup of Joe.
Yeah.
So you will not always get an apology. You can choose to forgive and move on. Sometimes you get a terrible apology.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, but okay. So, and if you want to confront, I have a whole nother talk on confrontation.
Mm-hmm.
There are ways to do it. But talking to the person does not mean you're going to ever get resolution. They're not in charge. You would hope that, and maybe the person's passed away.
Right.
Maybe the person that you have the trouble to forgive has died. And so you can imagine the apology you need to help you forgive. You can write it out, or you can have someone on their behalf apologize to you. And I've done that for people. I've thought, what? I am so sorry that your mother did that. I am so sorry. And it's not, I didn't do anything for it, but I'm offering her a way to forgive. Right. So it helps someone to have an apology, even if it's, coming through a third party sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah.
But the truth of the matter is we don't need the apology to forgive. And many times we won't get one. And we can truly forgive and move forward, either with the relationship, just keep moving forward, or without it. Yeah. But you can move on past that situation. And of course, I've lived a long time. So I've had many situations in my life to forgive and to be forgiven. And I've handled them in a plethora of ways.
Right.
Good and bad, depending on the, on the person and situation.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So when you forgive freely. This might last a little bit before our party tips. There's no strings attached. No conditions, you just need to forgive. It's kind of like release, and you don't have control over it from then.
Right.
It's kind of like it's done. I forgive. Right. But I always like, I have a friends that are in some big situations, and they had a big conversation. And at the end of the conversation, they said, we're not going to talk about this again. And I said, I would allow yourself, if you need to, don't stuff it. You might need to talk about this again. It's a big issue.
Right.
So
right.
It might come up again, but hopefully it'll be in the next step forward, not rehashing the same thing. Hopefully there's some progression.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think, because if you really look back to what you said at the very beginning, it's about freedom for you. So being able to not put conditions on it, that just keeps bringing it back to the same place. So letting it go for you, whatever that looks like, I think is pretty vital. Love it.
Okay, guess what it's time for? Ready?
Yes. I jumped the gun.
Yay! We are doing party tips with PattyLynn.
I think we need party time. Party time.
Party tips with PattyLynn.
Love it.
So this month's tip is how to be a good guest.
Oh.
So not throwing the party. We're talking a lot about having a party and being a party opportunist and all those things. So now we're going to talk about how to be a good guest. So you first starts with when you get the invitation. So respond right away. So check your calendar, respond right away. Now, etiquette would tell you that if you're invited by text, you answer by text. You're invited. So the same way you were invited is how you respond. So think of the old mailed wedding invitation. They mailed you an invitation and you RSVP by mail. Right. Nowadays, things are different. So however they ask you to RSVP on the card. So, call, text on our event, online event. So, but do it right away so they can get a head count and start planning for your attendance. Yep. And then what I like to do is, if you have any questions, so if you don't know the dress code, or some things are pretty cut and dried. If it's a backyard barbecue in the summer, you know what to wear. If it's a wedding, you just dress up unless they say, more semi-formal, then you got to be a little dressier. Or if they say casual, or it's a barn wedding, kind of leaves it up to interpretation. That way you might need to check on. Is it a fancy barn? There's all kinds of barns.
Right. That's true.
So, but if you need any information, and then let's say if it's a dinner party, then ask what can I bring? So that's kind of also new etiquette. So the old etiquette would be you show up and then of course you would have your own party at your house to reciprocate. But nowadays, maybe one person's more the party thrower and one person's the guest. That's okay. But always offer, what can I bring? Mm-hmm. And I offer right away, what can I bring? And often they take me up on it. You want to bring a great dessert. And if I'm on a special diet, I don't call and say, hey, I'm vegetarian this month or something, whatever I'm doing. Right? Right. I might be.
Right. Right.
No, so I say, could I bring a salad? Because I know it's something I could eat. Right.
Right.
And so I'm not going to show up and expect her to have something that I can eat. And I know I can make a killer salad. So I'm like, I'm not one I want to eat. And then if I can eat any of her other foods, I will. And, I will not look like I'm shunning her food because I don't want to embarrass her. But I would eat some, but I would also be like, and a big salad for me.
I do think food etiquette is worth its own conversation for sure these days.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I had a friend who always had a pie party where she made all these pies. And I just knew that on every piece of pie, every bite of pie, I want whipping cream. So I brought a big bowl of whipping cream. So not just enough for me, of course, enough for the 20 people that were there. It was a huge bowl of whipping cream. And it just kind of got to be our thing. Whenever I came to her house, I'd bring whipping cream.
I love that. I
know.
That.
So offer to bring something. And then what I always do on the day of, I call usually and say, hey, we're on our way. Did you think of anything else you need at the store? I'm going to be going right by the store. I could pick something up. because
Nice.
I know when I'm hosting, my husband's always like, do we have enough ice? You know,
Right.
and he usually runs out and gets a bag of ice. But often, like if we're going to my sister or something, he'll be like, we'll bring a bag of ice too. I'm like, I don't know. He just
Yes.
thinks the party must have ample ice.
Hey, that's great. Someone's got to think about it.
So then, so I asked before, can I, bring anything so she knows what I'm bringing? But then that last minute, hey, I'm looking forward to seeing you, in an hour, or whatever. We're getting out of here. I'm just wondering, did you think of anything else I could grab? I'm going right by the store. It's no trouble. Even if it is, it's not, because their stores are everywhere. Right. So I'm going right by the store. What can I bring? And usually they say, no, we got everything.
Yeah.
But wouldn't it be nice if, oh my goodness, they just remembered they didn't have ketchup?
Right. That one weird thing.
And then bring a hostess gift. So
now this is a lost etiquette, I think.
I think so too. And I talked a little bit about this before, but it is just a sweet gesture. And I think stores like, Marshall's or some of those little doodad stores have things. And I like to give a useful gift. So not something like unless you really know their style, but flowers are always nice. A fresh bakery item. So like either you made some homemade sourdough bread or you stop by a bakery and get the Fresh Days loaf. And this is something, don't expect it to be served. So this is a gift for the hostess. Gotcha. So this, she might serve it. She might be like, oh, wonderful, and serve it. And that's very gracious of her and nice. And it's also appropriate for her not to serve it. So either way, it could be a personal item, as far as like I like to give a hand soap that's like a kitchen lemon scented hand soap, and maybe a kitchen towel, or a little new kitchen scrubby and something else. So it's just an appreciation for, they went to a lot of work to clean their house and plan and invite all the friends over, and or just you or whoever, and made this nice time for everyone to enjoy. And you're gonna, just bring a scented candle. It's a little gesture, and it's so nice.
I love that. I'm actually thinking, as you say that, I made all these lilac things. I could take a little gift from my homemade lilac harvest.
Yes. Homemade. I love homemade gifts. Yes.
Me
very
too.
Thoughtful. And then when you're at the party, offer to help. And if you kind of know the flow of the kitchen or something, you can just, pop up and help. And you do not have to do the dishes. You can kind of see what the flow is or the vibe is. But rinse and stack is what I always tell the hostesses to do. So if you would just help your hostess rinse and stack, they can do the washing up the next day. It's usually just pop it in the dishwasher and a couple loads takes care of it. Right. So, but you just think, how can I make her burden a little easier?
Yeah.
I can just rinse and stack, and let me just grab this, and, just kind of think, again, treat others like you want to be treated. What if I was doing all this work? Well, wouldn't it be nice if someone would do that? I could do that.
Yeah.
And then don't be the last to leave. That means someone has to be the last to leave. So there's that. But just, it's kind of the don't overstay your welcome. But,
sometimes it's nice to have somebody to lead the leave.
Yeah.
Because you get people who will stay way too long. But if they see somebody leave, like, oh, okay, maybe it's that time. Like, that can be really nice. Yeah. I love those. Awesome. Yeah, is that everything? Sorry.
That's it. Yep.
Yay. Okay. Wait. Pom-poms? I think we should.
Okay. Party tips. Be a good guest.
Woo, I love it. Love it. I feel like bringing pom-poms everywhere you go should be a thing.
You're going to need a bigger purse.
That's true.
Okay. So just to sum up my concluding tips on forgiveness, that it's good for you, heart, mind, and soul. It's good for relationships. Unforgiveness makes you a bitter person, and forgiveness makes you a better person. And it does takes a strong person to forgive, but forgiving does make you stronger.
Yes.
So, and as I said before, unforgiveness is bondage, or it binds you, but forgiveness frees you. It heals you. It sets you free. And forgiveness is free. doesn't cost anything to forgive. Your burden is costing you something, but forgiveness is free. So forgive freely, and to live in freedom.
Yeah. Yeah. And if you guys ladies need help with any of this, we are happy to talk with you about it. It is, not the easiest topic in the world too. So sometimes it's also good to know what forgiveness is not. So if you need a conversation about that, that is really good as well.
Yeah, it's much deeper than what we can do in 30 minutes here.
Right.
But hopefully it was helpful and start some thinking and conversations. So,
yeah, great show. Thank you, PattyLynn.
Yeah, well, thank you all for tuning in tonight or watching on YouTube. So feel free to contact us or comment, and we'd love to connect with you.
I'm not sure who this is, but we did get a comment.
Yes.
Make sure I put
it
up.
All right. Lots of love.
Bye. Bye.
Bye.